10,000 years ago, a human stood in an open plain at midnight. There were no city lights. There was only absolute, crushing darkness, broken by thousands of piercing white eyes staring down from above. That human looked up and felt pure terror. They thought the sky was a giant roof. They thought those lights were the campfires of dead ancestors, or the eyes of bloodthirsty gods watching their every move. They were completely wrong about what the stars were. But they were absolutely right to be terrified, because the truth hiding behind those ancient myths is infinitely more violent and far more deadly than any monster they could invent. The ancient Egyptians looked up and saw a goddess named Nut. They believed her body arched over the earth, a protective solid dome keeping the chaos of the void away. It is a comforting thought. You want a barrier between you and the dark, but let us tear that dome away and put you exactly where they thought the gods lived. You are suddenly 60 miles up. The protection is gone. The very first thing the heavens will do to you is pull the air from your lungs. The vacuum of space does not care about your gods. The pressure drops instantly. The water in your saliva, your eyes, and your blood begins to boil at body temperature. Your lung tissue ruptures. In about 15 seconds, you black out. The ancient sky is not a protective mother. It is an airless graveyard. But the ancients kept looking. In 350 before the Common Era, the Greek philosopher Aristotle looked at the stars and declared they were perfect. He said they were made of a divine, glowing substance called ether, unchanging, peaceful, immortal. Let us test Aristotle's theory. Let us pull you out of the vacuum and drop you next to Sirius, the brightest star the Greeks saw. You do not find peaceful ether. In 1920, the British physicist Arthur Eddington finally figured out what stars actually are. They are giant nuclear fusion engines. If you floated near Sirius, the heat would be so intense your brain would not even have time to register pain. The surface temperature is nearly 10,000 degrees. The thermal radiation would vaporize your skin, instantly turning your carbon-based body into a puff of ionized gas. The perfect, peaceful lights in the ancient sky are actually billion-ton thermonuclear bombs detonating in slow motion. The ancients noticed that most of these lights stayed still, but a few of them wandered. The Greeks called them planets, the wanderers. The ancient Maya were obsessed with one wanderer in particular. They tracked Venus. They did not see a planet. They saw a great, violent god of war. They scheduled their bloody battles based on exactly where Venus sat in the morning sky. They thought the light of Venus was a weapon. They had no idea how right they were. Let us send you down to the surface of Venus. In 1970, the Soviet probe Venera 7 plunged through those clouds. It lasted less than an hour. If you stood where the Maya's war god lives, the atmospheric pressure is 90 times heavier than on Earth. It would instantly crush your ribcage, snapping your bones like dry twigs. The air is toxic carbon dioxide laced with sulfuric acid rain. The temperature is 900. It will certainly melt you. The ancient god of war was real, but its weapons are extreme atmospheric pressure and runaway greenhouse heat. When ancient cultures looked at the Milky Way, they did not just see stars. They saw the darkness between them. Aboriginal Australians looked at the pitch-black patches in the glowing river of stars and saw the emu in the sky, a giant shadow spirit. They feared the dark gaps. In 1784, the astronomer William Herschel looked through a telescope at those exact same dark patches and called them holes in the heavens. But the darkness is not empty. Modern telescopes revealed the terrifying truth. Those black spots are giant molecular clouds, choking walls of cosmic dust blocking out all light. If you were cast into the Coal-Sack Nebula, the shadow of the ancient emu, the cold would stop your heart. It is just a few degrees above absolute zero. The moisture in your cells would crystallize into jagged ice shards, tearing your cellular walls apart from the inside. You would freeze into a brittle statue, drifting in eternal night, suffocated by the dust of dead worlds. Sometimes, the ancient sky broke its own rules. In the year 1054, Chinese astronomers panicked. A new star suddenly appeared in the constellation of Taurus. It was so bright you could read by it at midnight. It shone in the broad daylight for nearly a month. They called it a guest star. They wrote down their observations, terrified that the heavens were sending a warning to the emperor. They did not know they were watching a massacre. That guest star was a supernova, a massive star collapsing under its own gravity, rebounding, and shredding itself apart. Today, we call the wreckage the Crab Nebula. When a star dies like that, it unleashes a gamma-ray burst. If a supernova erupted just a few dozen light-years from your backyard, the gamma radiation would slam into Earth. It would instantly strip away our ozone layer. Without that shield, the sun's ultraviolet light would cook the surface of the planet. Your DNA would literally snap apart. Your cells would lose the ability to divide. You would suffer acute radiation sickness, bleeding from your gums, your organs shutting down one by one, all while the sky glowed with a beautiful, blinding light. The ancient Chinese were taking notes on an explosion that could have sterilized the Earth. The deeper we look, the more the ancient comfort fades. In 2022, the James Webb Space Telescope opened its golden mirrors and looked back 13 billion years. We did not see a dome. We did not see gods. We saw galaxies tearing each other to pieces in a slow, silent gravitational slaughter. We saw a universe expanding faster and faster, rushing toward a cold, dark end. The ancients created myths because the alternative was too much to bear. They needed the sky to care about them. They needed the stars to be angry gods, because an angry god is still paying attention to you. You can pray to an angry god. You can offer it a sacrifice. But the true antagonist of the night sky is not a monster. It is complete, terrifying indifference. The universe does not want to hurt you, but it will erase you without a second thought. Gravity does not hate you when it crushes your bones. The vacuum does not hate you when it boils your blood. Radiation does not hate you when it shreds your genetic code. The forces of entropy are grinding everything down to dust, expanding the empty spaces, guaranteeing that one day, the last star will exhaust its fuel and blink out forever. Next time you step outside at midnight, look up. The piercing white eyes are still staring down at you from the dark. They are not gods. They are not ancestors. They are colossal nuclear fires raging in a silent, freezing void, waiting for you to step just a little too close.